Nebraska's got a new quarterback for the future. So are the Huskers all set for a few years at the most important position? Let's discuss in a Friday mailbag.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in. It is Friday. Let's do a mailbag show. As Mitch mentioned, there was a quarterback commitment last night from 2027 Chicago area quarterback Trae Taylor, who did, before we get to the questions, cause a little bit of a stir with the in-state crowd in Illinois because he donned the Illini hat for multiple seconds upon his commitment yesterday. And
yeah, this is a thing. This is a thing that they do now. I think Travis Hunter, my son told me that Travis Hunter started this trend.
No,
he did it when he committed to Jackson State. He committed to Jackson State and he put on a bunch of hats, but it happened before then, is what you're saying?
This is a classic recruiting move. He might have overdone it.
Travis elevated the visibility of it. I mean, certainly players have kind of done the like go one way and then go the other. But as far as like putting on the hat and saying something, I think Travis brought a lot of eyeballs to that tactic. And Trae Taylor tried it yesterday. He's like 15 or 16 years old. So let's remember that he tried it yesterday and with Illinois, and it didn't go over well with Luke Altmaier, the Illini's veteran QB,
35-year-old starting quarterback from Illinois, Luke Altmaier. Yeah. But pick on somebody your own size, buddy. Okay. That's my advice. All right. So with that, let's get to the questions from Scott in Columbus, Nebraska. What do you see as the future for Nebraska at the quarterback position now with the commitment of one Trae Taylor?
Yeah, well, as I said, he's a young guy and he's got 2 years of high school left, been a starter for 1 year at Carmel Catholic. He's from Lake in the Hills, Illinois. Sounds like a nice place. Is that what it is? Lake in the Hills, Illinois. Okay. North of Chicago. And it's going to be a while before he's scheduled to be at Nebraska. Recruiting is so weird today. And Trae Taylor is a top 50 player nationally in his class, number 2 quarterback or number 3 quarterback, I think, by On3 in the 2027 class. And, it was a news item on Thursday, but I didn't get the sense that this was like there were fireworks going off everywhere. One, people know that it's a long way down the road when you're getting a commitment from a high school sophomore. And then 2, college football has just changed with the way that not just commitments, there's always been recruiting that continues after a player is committed. But I think the portal has changed it so much because a high percentage of players who commit to a school end up starring and earning honors at a different school. So, and not to say that's going to happen here, but I think with recruiting now, and this is probably like healthy, there's a little bit of a sense of, okay, that's great. And we'll be very excited about it when this guy wins the job and starts taking snaps for Nebraska. So in that sense, no, the future's not set. Nebraska has Dylan Raiola in the class, Dayton Raiola in the class next year, the 26 class. And then Trae Taylor now in the 27 class. So there's a lot to be worked through before he ever gets a start for the Huskers.
Yeah, it's not, it can't be a bad thing. But if you're playing the odds, like you said, Mitch, chances are so in the old school recruiting days, you would play it out. Okay, Dylan Raiola is here. He's got 2 more years at the minimum, and then Dayton will be here. TJ Lateef, you're redshirting guys. You're trying to, kind of do it in succession. Yeah, like the chances are even if you're doing it in the old school way, Trae Taylor's not playing in a game at Nebraska until like 2030 or 2029 or something like that, which like it's a long time from now, number one. And number two, it's far-fetched to think it's all going to work out the way that, in line and succession like that. So
you just have to know that between Latif and Dayton Raiola and Trae Taylor, that you have to hit with one of those guys. Like one of those guys is going to be the successor to Dylan Raiola. And if you make that happen, then fantastic. If you don't, then you just go to the portal and you find somebody, which is what a lot of schools do. So it's all up in the air. But another a big piece for Nebraska's recruiting future. And one thing that Trae Taylor will do is he will help recruit for that 2027 class. And he's going to be a vocal person for that. Seems to have a good personality, someone who's going to be out there pumping the Husker brand for sure.
Hey, there's a line of questions here there's 3 in a row regarding running backs. So let's skip ahead to those and cover those in this segment here. John in Bellevue first. Would you rather have Quinton Ives or Charmar Brown?
Should we answer all well, we'll just take that one right here off the top.
Yeah, like I whatever it is. There's 3 questions about
we're gonna do running back talk here.
Let's cover them all.
Could you have them both? You can't apparently have them both because Charmar Brown's headed to Miami. If I'm Nebraska, I'm probably not trading Quinton Ives for Marty Brown because Quinton Ives has been in the program for 2 seasons learning things. He's a known commodity. Marty Brown, on the other hand, is a known commodity in the sense that he's run for yards and touchdowns in college, and Quinton Ives has done very little of that. If you're just saying, all right, let's say like they were both in the portal and you were going to recruit one of them as like third-party school, you're Kansas, and you're looking at both of those guys. I think Marty Brown is probably getting more looks today because of what he's done at the even at the FCS level. For Nebraska, the answer to that question is probably Ives. So let's be clear in our conversation about Marty Brown yesterday and how we said that Nebraska should have done what it needed to do to get him. That doesn't mean like give up on Quinton Ives. You're going to need, we think, more than 2 backs in 2025 to succeed.
Yeah, you were playing for a situation where you had both of those people on your roster. So there was never really a one or the other. Never really a one or the other thing. So on that, James leaves a comment on YouTube and said, man, you guys are just disrespecting the running backs that we have and disrespecting our own coaching staff. I can't believe what I'm hearing from you guys. What a joke for a sports reporter. Great question.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in the comments. Like we're not supposed to question what they do in Lincoln, I suppose. We're not supposed to wonder, like, could this be the right move? Could it be the wrong move? Like Nebraska's 12-13 in 2 years under Matt Rule. Seriously? Nebraska's 40. Yeah, they're 47-69 over the last decade. Like they have interesting point. They have not earned the right to go without being questioned for football decisions.
That's right. That's kind of how this works. I also like to just kind of double down on this right now. And I know this probably isn't going to make James on YouTube happy, but look at how Nebraska's handled the running back situation. Look at how this staff in particular has handled the running back situation. Like I mean, there was like a rotation of like 3 or 4 of them, and nobody knew who the best one was. I mean, in the first year when they got here, it was Anthony Grant. And then Anthony Grant fell off, and you're trying to find other stuff. And Emmett Johnson's kind of in the equation, and Ramir Johnson's hurt, and they can't handle the guys that are hurt and stuff like that. But Emmett Johnson barely even played at the beginning of last year. He went through stretches in the season where he was, getting 1 or 2 or 3 touches a game. And then it really ramped up when Daniel Holgorsen came, on staff and then he started getting 20 plus touches a game. So like, forgive me, I do have some criticisms about the way that they've handled the running back position in particular.
One other thing on that, I don't know if this was in response to our comments Thursday on the pod about the running backs and missing on Marty Brown. But it came to me at 10:39 yesterday from somebody in the Nebraska football community who's very much in the know on this situation, who said, do you get a feel for the difference between not compromising and wanting a guy pretty bad? So the question here is, did Nebraska just not compromise its standards? And yeah, it's important probably to not compromise your standards as you go after players in the portal or in recruiting. So I understand that. I just think there was I think there was a need there. There was a need for Nebraska, and there's still a need.
They're not gonna they've made it clear that they're not gonna like chase after guys. That's not their deal. And that's fine. That if you're really sure about what you have, and it's for me, it's more of this sort of laissez-faire way they've approached the position in general. One more question regarding a running back from Connor on YouTube, who asks if Jarian Parker played in the Husker games. What's the latest on him? I know he had nagging injuries, but never heard much after EJ Barthel's interview.
He did not. And last I saw Jarian Parker, well, I'm sure he was there at the Husker games. I didn't notice him, but saw him on the bike when Nebraska had a practice that was open to the media, or a 20-minute portion of it inside Memorial Stadium in the middle of the spring. And Jarian was out of practice that day, riding the bike, and there wasn't a lot of talk about the true freshman. You're right, Connor, after EJ's interview. So just kind of expected that, like he like probably didn't progress as much as they might have hoped this spring, just because he wasn't entirely healthy. And you reset or you build on that and go into August. Maybe he'll be a big surprise in August and be the answer to Nebraska's questions, but we didn't get an indication that was going to happen yet. Very talented freshman running back out of St. Louis.
Yeah, not much buzz about him early on. All right, let's take a quick break. More of your questions up on the other side of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. But first, a word from our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trader, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers big-time, expert customer support, industry-leading service, so you'll always be talking to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. It's time for you to do the same. Join their Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And just for you, for listening to this podcast, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off of your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com.
All right, welcome back. Friday mailbag edition of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer with you. Big weekend in Lincoln on the Diamonds starting today, Friday. Nebraska softball is at home for its regular season ending series, playing Maryland, and the Nebraska baseball team is hosting Minnesota in an important series for the Huskers postseason hopes as well. Jordy Ball, probably the last chance in this junior year for Jordy Ball to go out and see her pitch today, and then probably once again on the weekend. She is a finalist, one of 25 for a National Player of the Year honor. I saw her numbers are crazy, like offensively and in the circle. She's has a 20-win season, ERA under 2, hitting like almost 500 with more than 17 home runs, I think. So
not bad.
If you've not been to Bowling Stadium, you might have a hard time getting a ticket this weekend. There's also the ballpark bash going on Saturday outside of the stadium. So should be a nice day. Go check that out if you're in the area.
All right, back to the questions from you all. Mitch and GI is a frequenter of the mailbag. He asks, Mitch and Connor, what are your thoughts on the Bill Belichick in North Carolina situation after having plenty of off-the-field drama at Nebraska for the last 25 years? I am glad the news is now primarily football related.
Yeah, it's entertaining, very, very funny to watch from afar as Bill Belichick and his 24-year-old girlfriend dominate the headlines. Just did a bizarre interview. Was it CBS? I think it was
CBS Sunday morning.
Yeah. This is one where if you're a fan of North Carolina, you're probably just wishing, like, could anyone else be dealing with this other than our program?
I don't know. I don't know how they feel about it. Like, obviously they really like Bill. I'm sure they're excited about Bill Belichick, but they're probably thinking, can we get it to the football? You know, can we fast forward on this? Nebraska's had a bunch of drama over the last 20 years. Plus
didn't have
now,
this,
but not this. Yeah. This is different.
This is unique.
This is annoying. I certainly wouldn't want to be covering North Carolina right now.
No, there's not like a comparable situation to this I can think of, like, in the history of college football.
No. It's very, very weird. And I imagine that it will lead to some weird moments during the football season as well.
No doubt about it. Yeah.
International Matt has a question. International Matt comments on YouTube. Much of Raiola's drop-off last year involved wide receivers not getting open or beating man coverage. Do you think the new receivers from the portal will be able to beat man coverage?
Well, that was something that the Nebraska coaches talked about when Isaiah Hunter went before the media in the spring. That Holgorsen said that for the first time in his months at Nebraska, he saw a receiver get behind man coverage in a scrimmage drill, which is concerning that it didn't happen before, but also positive that Isaiah Hunter, the Cal transfer, was able to do that. I suspect that Dane Key, with his experience in the SEC, is capable of beating man coverage. And certainly some of Nebraska's younger receivers, which is really where the speed is located at in this group. Ja'Cory Barney, he can do that. He's been working more on the deep stuff and intermediate stuff in the Nebraska pass game, was used mostly in shorter routes and running the football a lot in 24. Plus Isaiah Mosey and Cortez Mills will be. Yes, I think Nebraska should be able to beat man coverage.
They're going to take shots. I think they're going to take shots. But I also want to mention in this conversation, don't put that all on the wide receivers from last year. There was a point in the season where Dylan Raiola just wasn't hitting guys. He wasn't hitting them on time. And I think what you said about sort of cleaning it up and making things more concise when Holgorsen came in, like that's an important thing for him, and it ended up being that way. So yeah, like I think this group of wide receivers is probably comparable, if not slightly better. I don't know than last season. You have a little bit more depth there, I think, but a lot of that was a two-way street, I think, as well. So the hope is that both Raiola and the wide receivers are improved.
There was also a point last season when Dylan Raiola's best passing play was drawing pass interference calls, and that may have something to do with receivers having some struggles in beating man coverage. If the defender's running with you down the field, you're likely to get some DPIs, and we saw that a lot with Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair.
Speaking of Dylan Raiola, here is a question from Mitch in Manteca, California. Put it on the map, folks.
I think it's already there. Yeah, we got a new map. By the way. Our guy Nathan, he sent us a new map. Maybe we'll show it on Monday. I've got it downloaded, but
all right,
not loaded into the show.
So we already got a pin on Manteca. Mitch's question is this: I assume that Dylan Raiola is the most talented quarterback that Dana Holgorsen has ever coached. If that assumption is true, do you think that Holgorsen might be tempted to run more of the air raid offensive scheme?
Well, Case Keenum, I would give that honor to at this point, or Geno Smith. Those guys did some things in the NFL, and he ran the. Yeah,
I think Dylan might be like. I think Dylan might be the most advanced for his age
Sure.
that Dana maybe has coached, because he talks about him and the way he processes things and how on top of it he is. So like I think that's possible. Hard to say on the talent thing though. Like you said, he's coached some NFL quarterbacks and some good ones.
I could just disagree with you. One of our emailers told us we should disagree more. I'm going to say Case Keenum was more advanced than I mean, he was throwing for 400 plus yards a game. Twice led the nation in total offense when Dana had him at Houston. Dylan is advanced. We've yet to see him reach the Case Keenum level of offensive production, and that was in the air raid. But no, I don't think that. No. I mean, Nebraska's committed to doing something different than the air raid. The air raid is not Big Ten friendly, most likely.
Yeah, I don't think that's a Nebraska thing either. Like Dana said it himself. He goes, "I'm done with that. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't think that's the best way," because he talked about his experience as a head coach and all the problematic things that come out of running an air raid offense gives you, like, for winning football games for your team. So he seems to be super locked into all that stuff, and really conscious of it. Where when they were running the air raid and trying to throw for 600 yards a game and score 58 points, like, he didn't care. Like he didn't care about the defense. Now he has I think a perspective and an appreciation of that, and that helps. That's a good thing.
All right, let's take a break, and then we'll come back with a lightning round. Lots of questions left to finish up on this Friday Mailbag show coming up next.
All right, welcome back. Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer with you on a Friday. Thanks for being with us. Hope everybody enjoys their first weekend of May. Enjoy the Kentucky Derby this weekend if that's up your alley. Fastest 2 minutes in sports, something like that. Should be fun. Get on your big hats and stuff like that. Here we go. Speaking of Derby, here's Chad in Derby, Kansas. Since day one, Matt Rule has consistently expressed the desire for Nebraska to be a place where players see able themselves to get into the NFL. What is that abbreviation?
That is as far as I know.
As far as I know, there are no rugby-style punters in the NFL. How does this affect future punter recruiting? It seems incongruous with that desire of his. Or am I way overthinking this one because it's just a punter?
Yep.
I think you're overthinking it. Chad,
that's not what he's talking about when he says he wants Nebraska to be a place that sends players to the NFL. He's not zeroed in on the punter. It's nice, but they're going to go with the scheme that Mike Eckler wants, and it's not going to hurt the NFL possibilities of their players at 22 positions on the offense and defense.
Yeah, I think they're going to be. I think you're maybe overthinking that. Here's Greg in Tulsa. The portal is always need driven, but what is the latest reasonable date to acquire help? Oh, that's interesting.
Well, you saw Nebraska pick up Sierra Wright pretty late in the process last year.
Like July?
Yeah, stuff can drag into July. Ideally, you would like to have your roster as far as additions set by June 1st, a month from now. June 2nd, a month from now, is the day that Nebraska reports back for the summer. So, punter, you'd like to have a punter. By the way, speaking of punters, there's a punter in the portal who, whether he was drawing interest from Nebraska or not, there was at least some speculation, and it seemed to be a fit. James Ferguson Reynolds from Boise State was a dual-footed, rugby-style, Australian-raised punter who played in the college football playoff last year and had some great numbers. He is headed to Oregon. So I don't know what plan A and plan B were or are for Nebraska, as Matt Rule mentioned in the spring. But if part of that involved James Ferguson Reynolds, he's off the board. If it's a punter, I mean, you could go into July because it's a punter. But other positions, and there may not be anybody else from another position, you'd like to have them in June, ideally.
Yeah. This might be a good time to mention that Nebraska got a commitment from a kicker late last night, Kyle Coonanan from Charlotte, who was Yeah, Mitch, did you know about this? This was late last night.
Nope, I was asleep.
They brought in a kicker. He was supposed to go to Cal. He kicked the last 2 years at Charlotte. And he is going to be added to the Nebraska roster, it seems like here. So that's sort of interesting. Throw him in the bucket there with John Hole and Tristan Alvano.
I wonder. I would have thought, well, so the one with the 105 being essentially off the table,
you could just
here we go. Kyle Kunanen signed with Nebraska. 16 of 16 on 9 of 15 on field goals. Okay. And somebody else to put in the mix. You can have a 3-man kicking race now.
Yeah, why not? Why? That's the battle of the fall. Jake in Albuquerque. Hey fellas, love the show. Thanks for keeping me up to date with all the transfer portal stuff and the house settlement. Just wanted to say that y'all scoffed at me when I said that Shedeur would be an NFL bust. Now, I am well aware that a late round pick could become a great player, but my assessment feels justified after multiple NFL scouting departments saw the same things that I did. We will see if my prediction holds up 5 years from now. Now, my question from Jake is, who out of the Huskers that sign undrafted free agent deals or were drafted do you think has the best chance to become an impact player in the NFL? Not just a rotation guy, but like a multi-time Pro Bowl level guy. I know it's a risky bet because of the injury history, but I think Fedoni has a shot to do that in New York. And then, that's just an option there from Jake.
Fedoni. Fedoni or Ty Robinson. I don't know that there's a multi-time NFL Pro Bowler in the Nebraska draft pool from 2025. If you're saying who's most likely, I would probably go with Ty Robinson.
I think Fedoni has the most like untapped potential out of the group, I suppose. Where the talent is probably greater than the production so far. So that's something that could help you if you're still trying to reach a ceiling. So I don't think that you're off about the Fedoni, like if you're betting on Fedoni, but like you said, Mitch, I don't know that I see like a Pro Bowl level guy out of this draft class from Nebraska.
Anybody from the I'll turn Jake's question into this, from the undrafted free agent pool at Nebraska, and there were 6 or 7 of them, who you think has the best chance to turn into something big for an NFL team?
I mean, if you want to take a flyer on somebody, I mean, Tommy Hill would probably be a good flyer to take, right? He's got the most potential out of any of them.
Vikings, yeah, he's the talent is there for sure. Yeah. I would say you're correct on that. And kind of in that same conversation, I would put Isaiah Nair in that if it's the right situation and everything's good with him, which was a hard formula to create in college at the 3 schools that he attended, then I think he's got everything you're looking for in a NFL receiver.
Vincent Napa, thanks for letting me contribute to your podcast. Of course, Vince. Mitch, congrats on your 1-for-1 effort on catching a punt. Can you do it with 2006 Brandon Rigoni or 2000 Oakland Raider version of Eric Johnson running at you?
There's no chance.
Okay. He said, sorry, I couldn't resist. Regarding your question from Tuesday's podcast on spring football interest waning, you brought up numerous theories that are valid. I still believe it comes down to fans tempering their expectation. Fans want to believe this could be a 10-win team, but we need to see certain things to believe such a fate can happen. I like their chances of 8-4, but I'm not ready to sink my teeth into 10-2 yet. Any further thoughts? I think that's actually pretty well laid out there. People kind of want to see it before they really fully dive in again.
Yeah. Thanks for the contribution, Vince. You're ready to be a co-host here. You got a good take. I agree with you. I don't have anything else to add. 8-4 is something that you can feel good about for Nebraska, but of course the fans want more.
It's easy to predict 8-4. It's harder to predict 10-2 because it hasn't been that good in a long time. Shane, Mitch, do you still have a bruise on your chest from catching the punt? And did Dylan Raiola heckle you because he was very close to you while you were catching that punt?
Yeah, Shane sent along a photo, which which is a video capture at the right time where the punt did hit me in the chest. Maybe a little bit of hand action slowed it down, and impressive, I will say, when you, not to toot my own horn, when you consider that punt did not then hit the ground. The best thing to watch were some of the people in the background. There was a coach over to my right who covered his eyes as as the as that transpired. It did look like, especially in slow motion, like I was going to botch it really bad, but I recovered. Dylan was like stone faced in the background. He was watching and he was kneeling down, and he had no reaction. He had no emotional visible reaction to what was almost ugly, but turned out to be fine. Maybe it still was ugly, but it got the job done. So no, he didn't heckle me. Not at all.
The covering the eyes thing, that's kind of how I felt for Nebraska returning punts for a long time now.
Good. I'm glad I'm in good company.
A couple more. This one is from Noel in Clarksville, Tennessee. Do we have that pin dropped on the map?
No, it's new.
All right.
Sure.
Last train to Clarksville. Has there been any word about who might replace the irreplaceable Greg Sharp behind the microphone this year in the press box?
Not officially, no. And that's going to be a decision that is vetted largely by Playfly, Nebraska's media rights company. And Connor, you heard Troy Dannon, the AD, say something about that this week.
Yeah, he mentioned that on the radio show this week and said, Playfly is sort of in charge of, cutting all this down a little bit. They had a bunch of candidates. They had a bunch of people apply, as you can imagine that there would have been. And so once they get it down, and I think they're probably getting closer to whittled down pretty good, that Dannon would get involved. It sounds like they want somebody who, is going to do all of the things. They have the Sports Nightly show, be involved in that and other stuff as well. So in order to do that, you got to have somebody who is available to do that all the time, and somebody who
rooted
in
Lincoln. Yeah,
right. So that, I think that's a sort of note going into this. I would imagine you'll hear something about that within the next, I don't know, month or two. It feels like you're getting closer and closer to that as people need to make the adjustment sort of going into this season. That's what I know.
Big shoes to fill for sure. I mean, Greg's going to be remembered, and saw his daughters out at Haymarket Park throwing out the first pitch when Nebraska played Kansas State on Tuesday night. So that was very cool. And yeah, that's going to be a newsy item this summer for sure on who takes that iconic position in the booth. Last question here from Jake on email. Connor, now that spring ball is over and we can officially decide the number that wins the COVID number bracket that you never, or can we officially decide the number that wins the COVID number bracket that you never finished for the ticket, your old radio employer, in 2020? What is this about?
So Mitch, everybody, when COVID started, like immediately when COVID started, it was March, right? Everybody was doing a bracket, a nonsensical bracket, because we missed brackets. We didn't get the bracket that year. Everybody wanted the bracket
was canceled.
They wanted the bracket to get released just so we can mess with the bracket. That never happened. Thank God. That's a good thing, by the way. So everybody was doing a bracket. And you know what? I said, I'm going to do the dumbest bracket I could possibly do. And that was a bracket where you voted on the numbers, So I seeded numbers, and I had regions and stuff like that. I think I had 32 numbers, single or double digit numbers.
Okay, so just 1 through 99. You couldn't,
I didn't seed all 1 through 99, but I took the top 32 or something like that, and I seeded them.
What was the overall one seed?
I'd have to go look at it. I should have pulled it up. We got all the way to the final, and then for whatever reason, I stopped doing it, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened to why I never finished it. But the final was the number 7 versus the number, predictably, 69. And I thought that 69 was probably going to win. But maybe it's maybe I'll dig it up and I'll put up the bracket and see what the results have been so far. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever done. And the result hangs out there in the balance, and it has for the last 5 years.
Very predictable on the final matchup. So I think I know what's going to win.
Yeah, 69 would probably win. That's probably why I didn't do it, honestly.
Perfect for COVID, though. So,
yep.
Okay, that's it for the week. We'll be back next week to dive more into the Nebraska football offseason, talk some baseball, maybe some softball, whatever else is going on. Thank you for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Give it a shot. Go into the portal with Brian Smith. You don't know where you might come out. Be the most informed fan on rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.